Suddenly Susan is an American television sitcom that aired on NBC from September 19, 1996, until December 26, 2000. The series was created by Clyde Phillips and starred Brooke Shields in her first regular series. Shields played Susan Keane, a glamorous San Francisco magazine writer who begins to adjust to being single, and who learns to be independent-minded, after having been taken care of all her life. The series was developed by Gary Dontzig and Stephen Peterman, who also served as executive producers during the first 3 seasons, and was produced by Warner Brothers. Television. Synopsis: the show takes place at The Gate, a fictitious magazine which is based in San Francisco. Among the magazine's employees is Susan Keane, who always has been cared for by someone else. However, when she realizes that she and her wealthy, vain fiancé copyright, Kip, are not meant for each other and that theory a unregistered trademark S more to life than just being known as the S in the Kip Richmonds, she abruptly leaves him at the altar. Now, she a unregistered trademark S suddenly just Susan. Susan's boss, Jack Richmond, the rebellious brother of Susan's former fiancé copyright, Kip, assigns Susan to write a regular column about being suddenly single. Susan's co-workers include photographer Luis Rivera, boyish rock music reporter Todd Stittis, restaurant critic Vicky Groener, and, in later episodes, investigative reporter Maddie Piper. Susan's grandmother and confidant, Nana, stands as a loving pillar of encouragement in Susan's otherwise hectic life. Susan's parents also appeared a few times each season, as played by guest stars Swoosie Kurtz and Ray Baker. Besides the task of putting together a magazine and focusing on the lead character's life, Suddenly Susan also focuses on the private lives of many employees in the show. Original pilot. In the show's original pilot, written by Billy Van Zandt and Jane Milmore and based on a dramatic script by Clyde Phillips, Susan worked at a publishing house editing children's books. After breaking up with her live-in boyfriend Ted, Susan finds herself single for the first time in years. Concurrently, Susan faces even greater challenges at work when her boss Eric assigns her the task of working as an editor with Charlotte, a hugely successful and highly opinionated romance novelist. Thankfully, always on hand to provide support is Susan's grandmother, Nana. Her co-workers, acerbic best friend Marcy, and Neil, who has a crush on Susan. The main office set retained most of its features when it became the Gate in the show. The most noticeable difference was that the elevator was to the right. The actual location for the exterior shots of the office was the Newell Building at 260 California Street in San Francisco. A cardboard cutout of Elizabeth Ashley which is featured in the pilot appears throughout the first 3 seasons of the show. It can be seen briefly behind Susan's desk, near the filing cabinets along the back wall. Brian McNamara later went on to play the part of Cooper Elliott, who took Susan to Italy at the end of season 1. Nancy Marchand played Nana in the pilot. However, the part later went to Barbara Barry. Death of David Strickland. David Strickland killed himself in a Las Vegas hotel room on March 22, 1999. Strickland's death was incorporated into the show's 3rd season finale, which was turned into a tribute to his character, Todd Stittis. Todd has gone missing and throughout the episode Susan desperately tries to find him. As the episode progresses, Susan learns about a number of good deeds that Todd had done around his neighborhood that she never knew about. Interviews with the supporting cast also appear throughout the episode, with each character sharing their personal experiences they had with Todd moments before his disappearance. As the episode comes to an end, Todd's favorite song, Praise You by Fatboy Slim, plays outside in the street as Susan and her co-workers sit in a circle praying for Todd's well-being. At last, the phone in the middle of the room rings, but the camera cuts away before the news of Todd's fate can be revealed. The episode ends with an archive video footage of Strickland and its titles, The Gods of Comedy Looked Down Upon You and Smiled. 4th season and Cancellation. At the beginning of the 4th and final season, Judd Nelson and Andrea Bendwald left the show. Series developers and executive producers Stephen Peterman and Gary Dontzig also left the series, and the show replaced almost its entire writing staff. The Gate was transformed into a men's magazine by its new owner, Ian Maxtone Graham, and relocated from its trendy uptown offices overlooking the bay to a dingy former warehouse in Chinatown. In tow, Ian brought his own team of workers, including executive assistant and U.S. Navy veteran Miranda Charles, sports writer Nate Knabolski, and freelance photographer Oliver Brown. Faced with new challenges, Susan suddenly had to prove herself all over again. Airing between Seinfeld and ER during its first season, Suddenly Susan was a ratings success, attracting almost 25 million viewers per episode, despite mostly unfavorable critical reviews. When the show was moved to Monday nights at 8 p.m. in the second season, the show experienced a large ratings fall, sliding from number 3 to number 71 in 1 year, bringing in less than 11 million viewers. The ratings failed to bounce back, and in its final season, the show barely ranked in the top 100, prompting NBC to pull it from the primetime lineup with 4 episodes left unaired in June 2000. This final quartet of shows aired in marathon form during the NBC all-night block from 2:00 to 4 a.m. on the morning of December 26, 2000. Ratings history, and of the series' original broadcast run. Last 4 episodes were aired 5 months later. References. External links: Suddenly Susan at the Internet Movie Database, Suddenly Susan at TV.com.